Welcome to Poets Talk Poetry, a webcast of the Saratoga Springs Public Library. My name is Mary Ann Rockwell, and I hope to bring you a different poet every month to read two poems of their choice, one by another poet and one of their own. And after each reading, we will discuss each poem and see where the discussion takes us. Today, I'm pleased to present Dr. Jane Alberdeston Coralin, I think I mispronounced it there, who teaches English literature and writing at the University of Puerto Rico in Arecibo. Her work has been published in various anthologies and journals, such as Patterson Literary Review, Saragosso, a Journal of Caribbean Literature, the Acentos Review, and Rock and Sing, a Journal of Witness. Most recently, she performed her poetry at the American Poetry Museum in Washington, D.C. Having completed a poetry manuscript entitled In the Colony of Everything, she's currently working on new story projects and another collection of poetry. So welcome, Jane. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm just really happy to be with you after so many years.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in so long. It's so great. Jade and I went to a graduate program together in Binghamton, New York. So you're going to start with the poem A Stranger by Saeed Jones, which had recently been published in the New Yorker, July 20th, 2020 issue. All right. Thank you.
The Stranger by Saeed Jones. I wonder if my dead mother still thinks of me. I know I don't know her new name. I don't know her, not now. I don't know if her is the word burning in a stranger's mind when he sees my dead mother walking down the street in her bright black dress. I wonder if he inhales the cigarette smoke that will eventually kill him and thinks, I wish I knew a woman who was both the light and every shadow the light pierces. I wonder if a passing glance at my dead mother is enough to make a poet out of anyone. I wonder if I'm the song she hums as she waits for the light to change, or if I'm just the traffic signal holding her up.
It's a great poem.
I love this poem. I think I was for 3 or 4 days after I discovered it online, I was crying because it was very impactful for me. I don't know if it was the voice of the speaker's voice or that questioning after someone passes and that loss of grief, like who were you to that person really? Or just the sense that where that person could be, right?
Yes. And I feel as if he's saying that she's somewhere, there's a confidence that she is somewhere existing and in a very powerful and peaceful way, right?
I agree with you, sort of like in herself. That bright black, that sort of word construction of bright black dress.
I love that.
Is not anything grief-stricken or sorrowful. It is a sort of like a new skin.
Wow, I didn't think of it like that, but that's cool. I related it to the next couplet where there's almost an envy, like, oh, I wish I knew a woman like that because she's something with who was both the light and every shadow the light pierces. That's such an incredible line.
Yeah, and it's sort of hidden in that couplet with the way that it cuts at shadow, and then you're surprised, the enjambment in the next line, the way it just surprises you with that light being pierced. I thought of those lamps that have where the shade is tin and they're perforated. Have you?
Oh yeah, like Mexican lamps, kind of that you like. lampshades or kind of, yeah.
Exactly, the lampshade that's pierced and the light peeking through, the light peeking through.
And also like how black contains all the colors of the spectrum, you know, all
Right.
the lights, different lights. It really turns the whole notion of blackness too on its head, would you say?
Yeah.
You know,
With that word, with the word bright at the beginning, right? I never thought of blackness being bright.
right. And then having read it, I thought, yeah, that works, you know. Um,
But he just does some really wonderful things at every turn. Uh, Even just the repetition of dead mother that feels so harsh. It is
mhm.
not at all made to be for the poem, the speaker in the poem reminding us that there's poetry in it, right?
Yeah.
That the fact that he uses the dead mother just feels so contradictory to everything else that happens in the poem. But it's the truth. It's the only way that he knows her now in some way, right? I don't know this
The
person
digital
that's walking.
transfigured form, kind of, right?
Exactly.
And so he kind of is that stranger who's seeing her out of the corner of his eye, too, would you say? I
Um,
don't know. It's a layer I kind of picked
it's
up. Like he could, in a dreamlike way, you know.
I
He could,
agree with you,
yeah.
but I feel like there's this battle where he's not let in yet to being that stranger that got the chance to see the mother in the dress walking, right? Like I feel like with the that even the stranger says, I wish I knew someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's this odd, like you said, layering. It's this almost like when they talk about the veil between here and
World.
there, right? There seems to be a veil in this poem that the speaker is peeking through,
Mm-hmm.
but can't cross over. And maybe it is the strangers that's already on the other side that is seeing. Ah,
Oh, right. That's why this is a stranger, because he's beyond the veil as well.
yeah, I feel like it's
Good
that.
as his mother, you know. Um, what else do you engages you about the poem?
The last couplet. Only because, and I don't know how personal uh, I can go, but I lost my mother last year,
Yeah,
and I know you know that. And
sorry.
the last two lines were the lines that have just been sort of repeating in my head
Oh,
over and over, like what it meant to be uh, the child of this mother, like how much. If I'm the song she hums as she waits for the light to change, but then he turns and it says, the speaker turns and it says, or if I'm just the traffic light holding her up. Like
mm,
the impact that we have, we always think of how our parents impact us, but
mhm.
what impact do we have on their lives, right? My mother would always say, you didn't ask to be born, like sort of taking the pressure off.
Uh,
Don't worry, you didn't ask to be born. I brought you to this world. And so that last line kind of throws something in the face of that, right? It sort of throws it back. No, no, no. What could you have done your whole life that being your child didn't allow you to, right? Or if I'm just the traffic signal holding her up.
yeah, it's really beautiful. And I also think that it could be true for whatever entity that the mother is now on the other side, that maybe he senses her hovering, like,
Okay.
I gotta
Like
go,
holding back,
gotta help this boy, you know, or
right?
yeah. Instead of just taking off and seeing what the next adventure is, to get really metaphysical about it.
Right. It's really weird because I'm going to be even more personal. After my mom died, I was having these recurring dreams and more like nightmares where I would see her, like she would be with me, and then all of a sudden she was across the street, and I'd have to cross the street and literally chase her, And at one time, I had all these grocery bags that we had bought together in the dream. So I was chasing her with grocery bags, and she would move from bus stop to bus stop. It was a very odd, uh, recurring dream. And I understood what it was. Like, she had moved on. This was my consciousness saying she's moved on. You can't keep chasing her. And so all of this, I'm
these
sorry?
bags, you're freighted with these grocery bags, these material, this corporeal stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that's the beauty of poetry. Like, I can talk about the personal only because this poem woke it up in me. Like, those dreams were always there. My mom's loss is forever there every day. But the fact that this poem can speak to that and tweak it and make me think about it and maybe inspire writing or inspire a reading of another poem. Because of Saeed Jones, I went back to reading Lee Young Lee and the city in which I love you.
Yeah.
It was, and reading the poem about the trout. Do you remember that one?
I know one by John Montague, The Trout, but not Lee Young Lee.
Oh, I don't think that's the title. I just remember a trout in the poem. They're all sitting at dinner. The family's all sitting at dinner. And then all of a sudden the poem cuts in the middle, and it's mother, brother, and speaker eating. And you see a dinner scene. And then the poem towards the middle, almost towards the end, cuts, and it's the father that comes in, is passing, and he's walking through the pines. And it says something about not being lonely. Like, the confidence of the bright black dress that the mother is wearing exists in that same poem by Lee Young Lee. The body is gone. The spirit is confident as it moves forward. And these poems are, like, students, the reading is cathartic.
Yeah.
You can find healing in reading poetry. And then they roll their eyes.
Pardon me?
And then they roll their eyes.
Oh, well, they'll find out. They'll learn about it. They'll remember their Professor Jane. So that was beautiful. I loved how you compared it to the poem by Lee Young Lee, which I now have to search out too.
I'll send you the link because I just don't remember the title right now, but I have it in the browser, so I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. So let's hear your poem next. And may I say, and is there a strain of autobiography? I mean, because you already shared that your mother had passed, so I think it would kind of help to have that reference for people to hear it.
Well, I've been writing after she passed. I've been writing a lot of poems, just around her, my life with her, part of it also my life after she's been gone, but mainly poems that deal with her body. So in every poem there is a thread. There's a thread between the poems about being in the body, whether it's my body, her body, or bodies. The other collection that I recently finished, in the Colony of Everything, the thread was bodies of water. So I'm kind of like stuck on bodies, it seems.
And I was thinking, there's so much water in this poem too.
Yeah, the whole poem is centered on water. I belong to a women's writing group. I say women's writing group because right now there are only women. That's the only reason I say women's writing group.
Right.
But we are some retired professors, and others are professors, and there's another person, and we give each other prompts. And I think this one was about the prompt was to write about water, and I didn't know what to write about. And then
oh wow,
it's weird. You get your ideas in the strangest places. I was showering, and I was being, like, you're conscious when you're showering. And all of a sudden I remembered, but how long have I been showering? How many years have I been trying to make myself clean? And it reminded me of mommy, and like that experience of, there are a set of years where someone else's responsibility to make sure that you're clean. And at least I forgot that. Like for many years, she would wash my hair. I was not allowed to wash my own hair
Mhm.
until 16. Until 16.
Wow.
So yeah, so this poem sort of came out of those memories. The poem's called Bear. I stumbled out of dream and into substance, covered in your sebum, the vernix of your body's dedication to love. Then they washed me till I squeaked. They wiped away the remaining cells of you. Next thing you know, you held your tongue, pushed out the placenta, and it was done. You bathed me, but I do not remember. I was clean for years. Washcloths, new ivory soaps melting between our fingers, yours tangled in the length of a black daughter's hair. I was small and thin, swimming the bathtub, playing in milky water, and what of you, your knees and back pained by the work, in your conservation of a household on the verge of being a broken thing? You'll organize a city of strays, keep things fallen upright, the lost under frame of night found. I don't remember. Where did you hide me or keep me from the cold? Was I always a milkweed between your legs, ready to burst? With two more to come, how did you never run out of room? In my teens, we shied from each other like it's textbook. We talked of nothing between my 12 and 15. Under my clothes, hands touched and wandered in my own dark gym class inspirations. A wilderness sprouted like lanugo on a field of skin. I forgot I was born. Our years of different strokes are over. We need the other in new, odd angles. We rattle with grocery lists, vitamin E and urgency, surgeries, menopause, and a hurricane that soaks our bones. It is the sun season. September's heat invades the night. A blackout and bats fly crazy with loss. We share a bed, 50 to your 71. I dare you to strip to nothing while the moon peeps through. You hesitate for only a moment, though I'd already seen you in bra and underwear, in hospital gowns, their ties floating behind you, or caught by the surprise on the toilet, giggling. Lying naked, I want you to remember my rush into this world from your honeycomb cove, my teeny, slippery body in your arms. Yes, mommy, I want you to come out of your clothes. Our skins, pelts of sweat against the bare bed. We thank God for small disasters as rescue copters float above our heads like seed pods on drowned rooftops.
Wow. Such a great journey in that poem.
Thank you. Yeah,
You.
it's a lifetime in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I just realized that.
I feel like there's three sections, three turns in the poem, kind of. Um, can you just talk about how the process of writing this has been for you?
Um, this poem actually makes me happy. I mean, I don't know if anyone out there has ever been naked with their mother on a bed.
There's a real giddiness to that section, like she's not your mother anymore, you're like a couple of schoolgirls or something.
Yeah, exactly. We were like giggling teenagers, and this was maybe 2 weeks after after Hurricane Maria had passed the island, and it was as if the hurricane took the wind, took the trees, took everything. It was very hot. It was extremely hot, and everything you did, since there was really nothing to do, there were, I mean, people in other places had things to do, but it was just my mother, and it was just us sitting in the house because we we couldn't really move tree trunks or anything like that. We had help from a wonderful friend and neighbor. But other than that, it was just us. And so the nights were long. And so there were wonderful conversations, but they were hot. And so finally I said, Mommy, we can't sit here like this. And she said, I know. No. She was just so proper. And I said, it's just me. And in the end, it felt so good. And we
And animals trying to be comfortable. Yeah.
exactly, it took us to our core. But there's so many places in our lives that exist, not just with our significant others, but anytime you just lie down on a bed with a friend where you take, I mean, I've had wonderful naps with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like those moments are just so special. And there's no silver lining to this COVID situation, but I do feel uh, a little bit happy that my brain has settled enough to remember things and be cognizant of the good things that have happened to me and write about them. And this was one in the middle of a horrible hurricane where a lot of lives were lost, and the the fact that that was not recognized at the time, the fact that your only news was your neighbor and what the other neighbor had heard. This was a blessing to be able to be naked on my bed with my mom.
Yeah. What a great memory to have,
Yeah, it is,
having lost it.
definitely. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that. I always feel I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, right? Because I'm 50, 52 now, going on 53. But there isn't a lot I keep quiet anymore. Like maybe or maybe it's being, you're a poet too, so you should tell me, like, do we love to talk about the
Well,
things that happen to us?
the very specific, intimate parts of one's life, when they're shared with elegance, as you just did
Oh,
for
thank you.
us, become universal
Yeah,
things that, I mean, I'm sure that people were moved to hear you read this.
thank
And
you.
I do see the connection between this poem. Both mothers in the poem are these very strong kind of women, and just like these super nurturers or super powerful people, kind of, I think. And yeah, and the bats crazy with loss. I mean, there are some beautiful lines. Can I just say a couple of few favorite lines?
Please, thank
So,
you.
so um, a blackout and bats crazy with loss. I mean, so I feel like the bats are the expiation, or like the bats are expressing loss for everyone. Or like there's an identification with the bats, kind of, are probably doing what they always do, but suddenly you're in that world with them in the darkness,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and the rest.
yeah. I love that reading of that line. Your analysis of the line. Uh, should I ruin your analysis with the literal?
Go for
No,
it.
go for it. Okay. Well, so yes, I love the bats. I wrote the bats in because of everyone experiencing the same tension, the same craziness, really.
Mhm.
But honestly, with the loss of the trees, because when the day of the hurricane, after everybody just came outside, everything was brown. It was as if our world had been scorched. There
God.
weren't any trees, and so the habitats for a lot of the bats were lost. And so that's why, actually, there was a contingent of volunteers that started creating these temporary habitats for bats
Mhm.
uh, about maybe a month or so uh, after the hurricane.
Oh.
But you could be standing outside, and all of a sudden you're whacked in the head by a bat. And so um, I was pretty close to getting hit by one.
Wow.
So I stopped standing outside at night.
It really sounds like a post-apocalyptic world.
It felt that way. There were a lot of elements that made it feel that way. It was it was sad to see things when you were driving down the road, seeing and then hearing the stories of people going for water in the river. There was a friend of mine whose father died from listeria simply because he drank from a Coke can that he had not washed. He had not thought of washing,
Oh,
and it was too late to get him any care. And so there were a lot of cases like that.
oh, so sad.
Um, we were all sort of like in the middle of learning who we were, but also the island learning what it was. I mean, we didn't have time to really be sad about anything because the next day or the next week, you could start seeing green sprouts. And I remember, I don't know if it was someone on the radio or someone that talked to me, but I remember someone saying, "Well, if nature can come back that strong, why can't we?"
Mm-hmm.
So
Beautiful. Um, well, I, I'm just sort of blown away by your poem, and we're going to post it on the our Facebook page with So Bear by Jane Alberdeston Coralin and A Stranger by Saeed Jones on
thank you,
our
Mary Ann.
website. And it's just been wonderful to talk with you, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And can I say one thing? I'd love it if anybody, I mean, you could definitely post my email if anyone has any questions about the poems. I'd be happy to answer. I love talking about the poems, and
Oh,
you've
great.
given me this opportunity not only to talk about mine, which I'm rather used to, but to talk about Saeed Jones's work, who I've really been admiring. I have his collection. I don't have the new memoir, but I've been reading his poems, and he's a firecracker. He's just fantastic.
So great. Definitely. We'll make your email available as well.
Thank
All
you.
right. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Mary
day,
Ann.
Jane. All right.
And
Bye-bye.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.